everybody! Welcome back to the Backstage Burrow, the coziest little tunnel on the internet where we run zoomies through time to uncover the wild, weird, and wonderful roots of the music blasting through your headphones right now. Paws ready, ears flopping? Let's dive right down the rabbit hole. Okay, picture this. For centuries and centuries, if you wanted to pass down your culture's music, you couldn't just drop a link or print out sheet music. No way! It was all about oral tradition, passing down songs from generation to generation, purely by mouth and memory. It's like the ultimate game of musical telephone, but with incredibly high stakes. For example, in India, musicians study under a super intense apprenticeship system for years. They aren't just learning how to pluck or strum their instrument either. They're memorizing an entire massive vocabulary of traditional musical phrases. Keeping that tradition alive is the absolute key. And get this, it totally works. For example, elements of Japanese court music have been practiced regularly, completely unchanged since the 11th century. Talk about dedication. But hey, humans are creative little creatures, and over time, several brilliant civilizations tried to lock their tunes down in a tangible way. We've dug up some amazing historical evidence of this. Take a look at these ancient artifacts. We found a Sumerian stone tablet dating all the way back to circa 1400 BCE. That's the earliest existing fragments of a melody that we've found so far. Then there are the literal inscriptions etched right onto the bells of the Chinese Yangzhong from 433 BCE. Oh, and we can't forget the Greek papyrus fragment of Orestes from the 3rd century BCE. And finally, the marble column of the Sekalos epitaph, the earliest existing full musical melody that we've found, dates from around the 1st or 2nd century CE. So why did people go through all the trouble of carving figures into stone, casting bronze, or writing figures on papyrus? Because this music meant everything to them. We are talking about deep, heartfelt stuff here. A divine hymn dedicated to a goddess, step-by-step instructions for preserving sacred court music traditions, a culturally massive, tragic play, and an incredibly beautiful original song written for a deceased lover. Basically, if a piece of music held huge cultural importance to a society, or if you were a super well-to-do family with cash to burn, you made sure it was preserved in a physical way so future generations could find it. Fast forward to how we actually map out these sounds. Musical notation can be divided into two totally basic yet completely different categories. First, we have phonetic notation, which is where sounds are represented by letters, numbers, symbols, or other characters. Second, we have diastemetic notation, where sounds are represented graphically on a page. Think about the Western sheet music you see today. It's totally diastemetic. It's a graphic chart of musical movement, like a visual map showing your brain exactly where pitches step up or tumble down. You can literally think of it as an intervallic notation system, where the jumps between notes are carefully specified. But on the flip side, ancient Greek, Indian, and Chinese music are all built on phonetic systems. Remember that Sekalos epitaph I just mentioned? It's a perfect example of phonetic notation. The pitches you're supposed to sing are literally written out as regular old letters from the Greek alphabet, placed right above the lyrics. The spacing between those letters in the Greek alphabet tells the musician the exact interval of notes they need to jump to get from one pitch to the next within a prescribed musical mode. The mode tells the performer which notes are even allowed in the song, and the characters show the distance between those notes in the melody. It's the same vibe in classical Indian music. The notation system only shows the intervals between the notes without pinning down a single specific pitch. That means, get this, any composition can be sung or played from absolutely any starting pitch the performer chooses. Talk about freedom! So, to recap, phonetic systems show relative pitch, but diastematic systems, they're all about absolute pitch. In a diastematic system, when you see the note A or B or G, everyone has universally agreed that it must be played at one exact established frequency, no matter what mode you're in or how skilled the performer is. What's wild about all those relative pitch systems is that they are technically, quote, incomplete. They don't micromanage the performer. They just give the musician a basic outline of the melody and say, hey, feel free to improvise inside this framework. And guess what? Western Europe was happily following this exact same line of evolution starting back in the 9th century. But then, bam! History caused some serious chaos. So picture this. You have a massive sprawling empire, hundreds of churches, and a religious and power-hungry leadership that decides that every single person needs to be singing the exact same medieval plain chants the exact same way at the exact same time. No more improvising, no relying on past traditions, and definitely no making it up as you go. But how on earth do you micromanage the music of an entire empire when the only way to pass down a song is by singing it into someone else's ears? How do you invent a code for something you can only hear? And can that code actually evolve to a place where you can learn a new melody without even hearing it first? And then what kind of crazy rule-breaking rebellion happens when you try to force an entire continent to sing in perfect sync? Well, my fluffy friends, you are going to have to tune in next time to find out how a frustrated Italian monk named Guido, a literal line of ink, and a whole bunch of brilliant innovations changed the underlying framework of human creativity forever. Until then, keep your ears pricked and your paws tapping, and I'll see you right back here in the burrow.